Yo, welcome back everybody to another video. It's been a little bit of time since I made this last part, but today we're actually going to be talking about how to make a carousel in React Native. Now, the carousel that we're going to be making is going to be made through a library called React Native Snap Carousel, and this is what it's going to look like at the end here. Thankfully, the Jacan Mo API provides some pictures for specific anime, so I can actually scroll through the anime pictures like so. If I find a different anime, like let's say Monster, then I'll see images for Monster as well, right there, just like so. And it'll be pretty simple. And there is a small preface that I do have to say before we do get into the tutorial. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So the first preface that I have to make about this library is that if you're using a brand new version of React Native at this date, the version of React Native that's available is 0.7. You're going to experience an issue with something called view type props. And as far as I am understanding, that the only way to really fix this is either to manually install something that will patch it, and then you have to fix your node modules, which is a solution that I'm not really the biggest fan of, or you can install a previous version of React Native Snap Carousel, this is the one that I was able to find that was working the best, which is 4.0.0-beta 6. And that'll make sure that the issue doesn't come up. So the first thing we need to do is we need to install React Native Snap Carousel. Now, if you want, you can try installing the most latest version for React Native Snap Carousel, which you can just do that by just removing everything after that. But since in our case, we need to install a specific version, for this to work, we need to install 4.0.0-beta 0.6. Alright, so once you've done that, next we're going to create a hook that we're going to call the pictures part of the API for Jacan Mo API. And we're going to put that inside of our hooks right here. And so let's call that get selected anime pictures.js. And inside here, the first thing we need to do is we need to import use query from @tan stack/-react query. And then we're going to also import Axios. This is going to be fairly similar to how we do our other API calls. So after this, we're going to do const get selected anime pictures is equal to async. We're going to give it an ID. And inside of here, we're just going to do const selected anime URL is equal to, let's just go ahead and copy a URL from, this seems perfect right there. And we're going to replace the recommendations with just pictures, like so. So what it's going to do is it's going to receive an ID for that specific anime that was selected, and then it's going to retrieve all the pictures for it. And then we're going to make an Axios call, so we'll do const response is equal to await axios.get selected anime URL, and then just return response data, like so. Once you've done that, we're going to run this through React use query. So we'll do export const use get selected anime pictures is equal to passing an ID, and we're going to do const. So there's two parameters that we need. We need is loading data. Then we're going to use query. Let's give it a name of selected anime pics, and then after that we'll just pass in a function call like so, and then call get selected anime pictures, pass in ID, and we're also going to pass in a parameter just to refetch on reconnect if there's any new pictures that are coming up. So we'll do refetch on reconnect always. And then finally, after all of this, we're going to return data and is loading. So we did a lot here. Let me just quickly talk about what's going to happen. So I'm just going to quickly talk about what we did. So we created a function right here that receives an ID, and this ID is coming from whichever anime that we selected. So for example, if we selected Trigun right here, we'll get the anime ID for Trigun, and then we pass it into this URL right here. So this ID right here, we retrieve all the pictures for that ID, give it a Axios get request, return the data, and then after that we are running it through React query to cache all of the results, and then we're returning two parameters, is loading and data, and that's it. Is loading basically checks is the data still loading, If it is, fantastic. And if there is data, to also return data. Perfect. So after this, what we're going to do is we are going to go into the selected anime.js file, and inside of the scroll view, we are going to create a new call. So we'll do, sorry, new component, and we'll call it selected anime pics, and we're going to pass in a parameter of anime ID is equal to selected anime data dot mal underscore ID, like so. We haven't created this yet, so let's go ahead and create that as well. Let's go ahead and run the app as well. So to create this, I'm going to just create a new file, and we'll call it selected anime pics.js. Oh, whoops, create a new folder. Let's go ahead and create a new file called selected anime pics.js. And inside of there, just so we have some content, let's just go ahead and copy whatever we have inside of the selected anime.js file, and we'll just paste it inside of here. Let's change this name to be selected anime pics, like so. Let's get rid of all of this content. Let's go to the use effect. We don't need any of this either. And we can leave the styling there. We may or may not use it, but. And let's get rid of the scroll view. And that's pretty much all we need. Alright, so for this to work, React Native Snap Carousel requires a few mandatory things. So the first thing is we have to first import it from React Native Snap Carousel. The first thing is data. This is going to be equivalent to the data that we just pulled from the API. And after that is render item. This is, render item. And this is what each individual carousel item will look like, how it's going to be styled. After that, you do also need two things, so slider width as well as item width. And that's pretty much all you really need. So let's go ahead and actually pull in the data from the API query. So at the top of our function right here, we're just going to do const data and is loading from, we're going to import it from, it's not from, it's equal to use get selected anime pictures, and inside here we need to pass in anime ID, and we'll also pass in the parameter of anime ID right here, like so. And then once you did that, all we're going to do is do data.data, and let's go ahead and also import it right here, like so. Perfect. It's still not going to work right now because we also have to give it render item and slider width and item width. So let's go ahead and take care of those three things. So firstly, the slider width, what we're going to do is we're just going to give it dimensions dot get screen dot width. So the slider width is going to be equivalent to the entire width of the device's screen. And after that, item width, for this you can really do whatever you want, but for this specific item width, I'm just going to give it 500. And so for render item, we're actually going to, it's going to be very similar to how you render item in a flat list that we talked about in previous videos regarding flat list. So we can actually pass it two props. We can give it item and index, and then we can create a return. And inside of here, we can just do a simple view. And inside of the view, we'll give it a fast image. So this fast image is the way that we're going to be rendering each individual carousel image. So we're going to do source is equal to double braces URI, and URI is going to be item dot. The way that this API is set up is it goes item dot PNG or JPEG. We're going to use JPEG, and then dot image underscore URL. And then after that, we're going to give it priority. And for priority, let's give it fast image dot priority dot high. And let's go ahead and also import fast image. No, it's already imported. Perfect. Let's import view. Right there. There we go. Oh, whoops, fast image. There we go. And so now the images are going to render, but we're going to add a little bit of styling to it just so the images aren't 0 by 0 width and height. So we'll do style is equal to image, styles dot image styles. And instead of our styles right here. We're just going to do image styles, and we'll give it a height of, let's give it 350, and we'll do width at 100%. Now you could also do dimensions.screen.width, but I just like to do 100%, even though I also did it here. But anyways, and so now what we have to do is we need to check, is the data still loading? Is there data in the first place? If there isn't, then to render a message that says there's no data. If it's still loading, to show text that says still loading. So the way that we're going to make that work is inside of our safe area view, we're going to give it curly braces, and we're going to call is loading. So if it is loading, then we're going to display some text that's going to say loading ... Else we're going to check, is there data available, and if there is data, then to render the carousel right here. And outside of the carousel, if the carousel has no data whatsoever, then we're going to do a simple view tag. Inside of there, we'll do simple text, and we'll just call no images available. And so now if we test it out, it should all work, hopefully. Oh, whoops, text is not defined, so let's go ahead and import it. Text, there we go. So let's go ahead and refresh our app. So we actually had two small typos in the code. In priority, we actually misspelled it. Well, I misspelled it to be priority, so now it's the proper spelling. And image styles does not exist because I called it emoji styles. So image styles like so. And so now if we go into an anime like Witch Hunter Robin, we'll see the anime images associated to that in our carousel like so. And so that was a pretty basic setup on how to work with React Native Snap Carousel. So one final thing that I want to talk about was some cool layout animations that you can do with this library. So you can do something called layout, and inside of here, it actually gives you three different options. You have default, which is how the carousel looks right now. You have stack, which basically stacks each image on top of each other, like so. You can see the little background right there. Or you can do something called Tinder. I am going to be honest with you, I don't know if this is the right animation for what's on Tinder because I've never used it, but you can see that it sort of like fades away the previous image depending on, like if I were to go forward, you see that it's fading out in the bottom right there. So that's a pretty basic setup on how to use React Native Snap Carousel. In the next one, we'll actually go into some more advanced uses of this. So we're going to cover pagination, and we're also going to cover the ref object. So we're going to create two little buttons that's going to allow us to be able to click that when you click it, it'll go left and right on the actual carousel images. So stay tuned for that, and if you enjoyed this, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.